Bears, 18-point comeback, free throws, Bahamas, Jeremy Roach. Let's get locked on Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Kim Stewart, but you already know that. Let's get to the point here. Jeremy Roach just hit an insane three at the buzzer, and the Bears just took out number 22 St. John's 99-98 in double overtime in what will likely be the wackiest game they play in all year, even in the crazy Big 12. How did that just happen? What just happened? We're going to try to make sense of this. This is also the Friday episode, so we will talk a little bit of football at the end of this thing to get you ready for the Houston game. But, oh my God, what just happened? What? 99-98, Bears win. They were down, what, 5 with 8 seconds left? What just happened? Baylor lost that game like 3 times and somehow won it. I shouldn't even be doing this so quickly because I don't even have words for what we just saw. Ejiofor goes to the line with, 4 seconds left? And they literally say on the broadcast, if he hits these two, the game is over. And he misses both. Like, eat your heart out. Misses both. And I'm screaming, like, just call a timeout. You have a timeout left, and Norchad Omier is pushing it up the court. Baylor's best scorer in this game, sure, but maybe not their best ball handler with seconds left on the clock and an actual chance to win the game. And they get it to Jeremy Roach. And Jeremy Roach, nuts dragging on the ground, played in the Final Four. Duke man knows the pressure, absolutely nails it at the buzzer in double overtime. Whoa. This has to be a galvanizing win for Baylor. It has to be, because it looked bad a couple of times. It looked bad when they were down 18. It looked bad when they had the lead and they were trying to close it out in regulation and overtime number 1. We'll get to that in the second segment. But this has got to galvanize the team. Now, really tough assignment. You're going to play probably Tennessee, maybe Virginia, tomorrow at, 23 hours later. You've got to go play again after playing double overtime, in which you exhausted yourself after the first half more than most teams would in a single game. I just, so many things went against them in this game. And a lot of it was on their own volition. Don't get me wrong, but wow. Baylor's largest lead was 5, by the way. Their largest lead was 5 in this game. They didn't even tie the game until, 3 minutes left of the ball game? But the 7 seconds left. They are down 98-93. VJ hits this ridiculous 3 after not having a good game whatsoever. They get the timeout. They foul right away. Nunn is going for the steal, but also kind of trying to foul. They review it, I guess, for time. They were saying at one point the elbow, but that wasn't going to be an elbow. That was never going to be called, and it shouldn't have been. And I guess it was for time, and that was great because Baylor needed every second. Again, Ejiofor misses both, and Roach comes down and hits the 3. I am so perplexed as to what just happened, as to what we all just watched. And based on the comments coming in, I think you guys were pretty surprised as well. Tim, I assume your name is Tim. I told my wife to turn it off after we went down 4, said it was over. She kept it on, and that's why I married her. You picked a good one, TN Tovar 96. You picked a great one, because I was thinking the same thing. If I wasn't doing this post-game show, I would have turned it off. And my girlfriend, who doesn't know anything about sports, God love her, she lives a much more blissful life than I do, probably would have been like, no, there's still time left. And then this happens. Wow. Abe, no way, Abe. No way. Abe says, I threw and broke my remote and turned the TV off. Then I got the ESPN notification that we won, and I almost passed out. That sounds a lot like me. That sounds like me. Some things have been broken in my apartment. Maybe not this apartment, but in the past during Baylor games. And I'm glad to know there are some psychos out there like me, because I'm trying to work on it. But, oh, man, like I was pissed, guys. I was pissed because I thought they threw this away. And I was ready to come on here with a rant about, what it's been like the last couple of years with this team and how they keep doing the same things wrong. And I'll talk about that in the next segment. But for right now, we can celebrate a victory. It does not mean that they're going to get past the first weekend because they won this game. But man, you lose the first game of the season by 40 points. And if you were to tell me that before Thanksgiving, you would actually have a winning record against ranked teams after that, I would have laughed you off the stage. But here we are. And Isaac Shade of Locked On College Basketball, who is so happy that Jeremy Roach is no longer terrorizing his North Carolina Tar Heels, puts it quite simply. Jeremy Roach, Baylor Bear. That's why you go out and get him. Baylor Bear. And the 2 big-time transfer portal guys they brought in, the 2 guys with Final Four experience, carried them tonight. Norchad carried them for most of the night. 24 points, 10 rebounds. It took 40 full minutes of game time for him to get to the double-double, but he gets the double-double. Roach puts up 20 on 7 of 14 and 3 of 5 from 3. I'll take that. 4 assists to 3 turnovers. Like I said, Love got some time tonight. Jalen Celestine, although he fouled out, hit some big shots for you down the stretch in game number 1, the second half in regulation time. He gave you some big time shots. Rob Wright kept you afloat at times. He gets I don't want to say a quiet 17, but it feels quiet because he doesn't play, he doesn't make the plays down the stretch. He's not out there for a lot of the plays down the stretch in first overtime, second overtime. I thought even Jaden Nunn gave you a pretty darn good game, and he shoots 4 of 12, but if you watch this game, he was coming up with some big-time deflections and steals. He ends up getting 8 rebounds, too. I wouldn't have minded if he took that shot at the end of regulation instead of passing it off to VJ, but VJ was open. So kind of I'm with that one. I'll get into this part big time, but, like, VJ did not have a good game. I don't know if it was the moment and having the fans, the family there and the friends, but he didn't have a good game. He ends up with 10 points, but it was pretty abysmal for most of it. 4 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 5 from 3, but ends up hitting, of course, that big time 3 to get them to within 2. It looked like it was going to be all for naught, but it was for naught. Not for naught. There we go. And I just didn't love that he had the shot to win the game twice in regulation with the way he was shooting it all night. One of them, he took it himself, missed in the lane, and then the other, they passed it off to him. He was open for 3, but he's not a great 3-point shooter, even when he's at his best. So, and he wasn't having a good night, and he was hobbling. So I didn't love that. But the Bears get the win, and that's what matters. But let's take a look at, because this, as much as I am happy with this win and everything that comes with it, we would be remiss to not talk about the mistakes made in this game and how Baylor almost lost it, and I thought did lose it a couple of times. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor on a very successful night from the Bahamas. But first, PrizePicks, because this is a regular episode of Locked On Baylor, and they're a very proud sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is the #1 daily fantasy sports platform. It's my favorite because, like, it's bozos like me can play it and still win up to 100 times my money with as little as 4 correct picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, which include California, a lot of Baylor Bears there, Florida, Georgia, and of course, the great state of Texas. It's the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users. Sign up today. And I'll tell you what my favorite part of it is. It's the insurance policy. Okay. It's the only real money daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineup stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks is going to keep your lineup live. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win that to get the $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, things like Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to give you even more value on that, which, again, I love big time. I got to read this verbatim. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Repeat 2x. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Oh my gosh. For those of you watching on YouTube, you got to take a look at this. The win probability, it was as close as you could get for St. John's. That's got to be 99.9%. They're going to the free throw line with 7 seconds left, hitting both, puts the game to bed. And they don't do it. The Bears come back and win. And how ironic that they get thrown a bone to win the game at the buzzer because of missed free throws. Because that was Baylor's problem down the stretch. And they did have a couple of problems in this game. First and foremost, they fell down 18 in the first half. It was a long time ago. It was hours ago. But lest we forget, they fell down 18 in the first half. And it looked a lot like that Gonzaga game. And I'm sitting here, I'm mumbling under my breath, I'm throwing my hat, and I'm thinking, this team cannot play man defense. And it looked like it again. They couldn't do it against Gonzaga. They went all zone against Arkansas. And then you get another ranked opponent in here, and they can't play man defense. Now, it did get better down the stretch. And honestly, the second half, the only real big adjustment I saw from Baylor, first, they were moving the ball more, which I've talked about a lot of times this season, is they are a little bit too stagnant in their offense, a little bit too much one-on-one. They started moving the ball more, and that got them better looks. The other thing was they were just playing more physical. Like, you watched it in that first half, it was men against boys. Like, Baylor was playing like children in that first half. They were not the aggressor. They were not playing physically. They were letting the game come to them. And St. John's was really pushing the issue. And then in the second half, Baylor started playing physical. They started playing bully ball. They started playing like grown men. Because I'm sure Scott not only lit a fire under their butt at halftime, but also told them, hey, we can get away with a lot. They're getting away with a lot. And the officiating was, I mean, I'm telling you, there were points in that game where they swallowed that whistle. They were letting both teams get away with a lot. And it wasn't even just fouls. It was travels. I mean, there was a couple times where guys went to the floor with the ball. And when I was growing up, that was automatically a travel. It's not anymore. They let him get away with a lot, and credit to Baylor for recognizing that and realizing that they can attack St. John's that way. And down the stretch, even with the mistakes, because there were plenty of mistakes, it was a good college basketball game, man, because you had two teams giving maximum effort, playing really hard, figuring it out. St. John's figured it out from the jump. Baylor figured it out at halftime, and it was who was going to outlast the other. And that's essentially what happened in this game. But the free throws, man. I don't get it. I never understand these teams that can't hit free throws. and clutch time. I just, and it's funny because Scott Drew came on the Mosley show with myself and Matt Mosley last Friday. And we started the call with him like yelling into the phone because he was still at practice. And he was talking about practicing. They were practicing free throws. And I asked him during that interview, I said, Scott, do you use the Dean Smith method? Now, Dean Smith, legendary North Carolina coach, would do, free throws like every other team will do in their practice. And whomever missed the free throw would go and sit in the stands at the Carmichael gym, and everyone else would run laps. And so that was to, get some accountability there of now your teammates hate you. You feel like you let your teammates down because that's what it feels like in a game. And it just can't be that way year after year. Speaking of UNC, I look back to that 2022 tournament game. They were missing free throws down the stretch in that game, which was a great comeback. Would have been the greatest comeback in NCAA tournament history had they won it. Last year, might I remind you, a chance to tie and or take the lead maybe? Jacoby Walter misses both free throws in the final minute. Like with how much free throws have taken from you the last few years and the talent that you've got on this team, how can you not be elite at that now? That's what bugs me. Like, how does that not keep you awake at night to the point where you figure it the F out and hit free throws all down the stretch? 1 of 2s, 0 of 2s, chances to put the game away, and they didn't do it. That's what was so surprising about the regulation part of this game is Baylor was down 18. They come all the way back, and then they blew it. They should have won that game in regulation, and then they should have won it in the first overtime. But they were missing free throws, and down the stretch in regulation, every time they got to one possession, they'd throw up like the worst possession you could think of. I mean, running into traffic, running out of bounds, getting to the block. And I can't tell you how many times this happened with Norchad, with Wright, with Josh O. I mean, guys getting the ball in the block and then just throwing it into space. Like just tossing it up to the ceiling of the ballroom. I'm like, what is going on? And with all that stuff happening, I'm like, they're going to lose this game. Because, yes, hand up, I thought they were going to lose this game a couple of times. But that's not what this team did. It does not cover up the flaws. But, golly, that was frustrating at times, man. Again, VJ is out there. He's like 1 of 11 at one point. He's hommeling. He's needing help to get to the bench, and he's still out there. And he's missing shots, and he's not grabbing rebounds. And I know it's killing him because it's his friends and family in the stands. But I'm like, do we have no one else that we can put out there in some crunch time? Apparently we couldn't. But a win is a win. And I hope they're not too completely worn out to play tomorrow, because unless this Tennessee-Virginia game is another absolute classic, one of those teams will be more well-rested than Baylor is. But we can live this one up for now. This is a big-time win. And after the game, they kept talking about how bad it was for St. John's, for a team that missed the tournament last year. This would have been a huge RPI win for them. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's also an RPI win for Baylor. This is the first team St. John's played, but the metrics are good for St. John's right now. The national media is going to love them because they were a good team last year, not good enough to make the tournament, but they're going to remember that. They liked the guys they added. This kid, RJ Lewis, is like an All-American type. They love Patino. So that's going to be a good win for Baylor too. And you guys know me. I, of course, took no joy in seeing a bunch of people from New York City have a gut-wrenching loss. I took no joy in all those people in the Yankee hats in the St. John side losing this game in heartbreaking fashion, right? Oh, man. Apologies to any of my Baylor fans who are from New York, but it's like the worst people just had a gut-wrenching loss, which is awesome. Will asks a good question. Does this team have the secret sauce to right that ship? talking about all the problems they had down the stretch. I wish I had a better answer for you, Will. I don't know. Because I thought the team had it last year, and they didn't. I thought they had turned a corner somewhere in the conference season last year, and they didn't, because they folded down the stretch in that game against Clemson in the second round. I thought 2022 had it from the jump. I thought that team had the balls. And when we saw them go 15-0 and work a top 10 Iowa State team in Ames on New Year's Day, I thought they were going to go back-to-back. Lost in the second round. They didn't have it. So I don't know. But I will say this of whether this team has the secret sauce. I said it at the time when they got these guys out of the transfer portal. You brought in Jeremy Roach and Norchad Omier to do exactly that. You brought them in because they played a lot of big games and they've played in the Final Four and they know how to win. Again, perfectly emblematic. Your two leading scorers tonight, Norchad Omier and Jeremy Roach. The final play was a rebound by Norchad Omier and an outlet pass to Jeremy Roach for the game-winning three. So it's going to take a while to notice, and we might not even know until March whether they have the secret sauce to right that ship. But A, they didn't lay down in this game like they did against Gonzaga. They didn't. They showed some real fight. And B, the guys you brought in to make that secret sauce made it tonight. And it didn't look good for a long stretch of that game. But the guys you brought in to make winning plays just won you the game in a ranked matchup. So that makes me feel good. I don't know about you guys, but that makes me feel real good. We do have to talk some football because we've got a game Saturday against Houston. And I know you guys like football, and maybe we're just a football and a basketball school. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor after this word from ZBiotics. ZBiotics. You guys know it's the thing you drink before you drink. ZBiotics Pre Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists, they're smart, to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in my very large gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. So just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks celebrating a win like this, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a late night Locked On Baylor, I feel great the next day. Because here's how you use it. 3 easy steps. Drink pre-alcohol, drink responsibly, enjoy tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use the code lockedoncollege at checkout for 50% off. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now, let's get back to the show. Baylor football. I should have wrote down what I was going to talk about for Baylor football because it's all gone out of my head after this insane basketball win. Bears take on Houston on Saturday. And I got this question on the radio the other day, which is, what is the least compelling football program in the Big 12? Right? Like, this conference is great. Anyone can beat anyone any given week. And it's been a ton of fun to follow this year. So most of these teams are compelling. Which one is the least compelling? For me, sorry, Cougs fans, tune again. It's the University of Houston. And I like Willie Fritz, and I think he's going to turn that program around. I think they're going to be like a solid team. I talked about this with Parker yesterday. I think he's going to cook something up there. But right now, they are a losing team with a pretty good defense and no offense. They've scored 30 points twice this year. One of them was against Rice, which shouldn't even really count. So they're not much. Their stadium, not much. Their fan base, not much. It's not basketball. So a night game at TDECU, In fact, I'm wondering if the Big 12 wishes they took SMU instead. Houston, it's a market, sure. But like, I don't know. You've already got something Big 12 market there. And it's not a college town. It's a pro sports town. Anyway, I don't want to dump on Houston too much. I do feel good about the Bears' chances in this game. I just don't think anyone is really slowing down this offense right now. And even if they slow down this offense to, let's just play this out. Houston's got a good defense. If Houston slows Baylor down to 28 points, which is almost 20 points below their average on this win streak, I still think Baylor wins the game. Again, Houston has scored 30 twice. One of them was at TCU, by the way. Snaps up for that. So even if they hold Baylor 3 scores below their average on this win streak, since they've really gotten things cooking offensively, they still probably cannot outscore them. So I think we're going to know at halftime who's going to win this game. Because if it's by some miracle it's 13-7, whichever way, that's going to favor Houston. That means they're figuring something out with Baylor's offense. But if it's 24-10, Baylor, like it's over. Because Houston cannot keep up with that. And even with their good defense, they're worried about Bryson Washington. So I think this is going to be a big time Baylor victory in terms of the scoreboard. Maybe not in terms of prestige, but on the scoreboard. Scotty B, before we go, we got to get this in here. Scotty B is pumped to the point of breakdancing to Whoop There It Is by Tag Team. Yeah, baby. Yes. That video will be on Twitter shortly, I imagine, but he said this 14 minutes ago, so it might already be on there. Man, Scotty B's taking the breakdancing videos from football to basketball. The vibes are high. Isn't that what Atomic Kitten said? Something like that. The vibes are high, and we're holding on for a 99-98 victory. Bear the Truth brings up a good point, too, before we get out of here. Great win against a veteran team. It's a good point. It's a really good point by Bear the Truth, because we look at Baylor as trying to become a veteran team by bringing those guys in. God, my nose is itchy. By bringing in guys like Jeremy Roach and Norchad O'Meara, and we forget that St. John's is a veteran team as well, coached by a Hall of Fame coach. And you know, they did well in the transfer portal this year. That's what a lot of teams liked about them, or a lot of pundits, I should say, liked about them. But I've got just a quick message for my man, Rick Pitino. Chris Mullen is not walking through that door. Walter Berry is not walking through that door. And Mark Jackson is not walking through that door. Scott Drew 2-0 against Rick Pitino. Both times he comes back from at least an 18-point deficit. You remember that, Louisville? Back in Black Friday, I think, of 2016, at the Battle for Atlantis. King McClure, Jake Lindsey, they couldn't get the ball over half court. Some bum point guard named Donovan Mitchell couldn't get the ball over half court from Louisville. They was down 20 in that game and came back to win. Same thing tonight. 18-point deficit, didn't matter. Blowing it in regulation, didn't matter. Blowing it in the first overtime, didn't matter. Basically blowing it the second overtime, didn't matter. Bears lose it 3 or 4 times, and yet the Bears win. I mean, what more could you ask for from this team? Well, you could have asked for, winning it in regulation. But this has to be a galvanizing win. If this is something to look forward to when there are other close games. If they're executing down the stretch, this is the game you point to. But right now, it's an awesome victory. It's an awesome night to be a Baylor fan. Hopefully they get enough rest in the Bahamas. That calming noise of the sea is going to give them the rest that they need. But let me know what you thought about this game. Drop it down in the comments below, and let me know what you think about Baylor and Houston for Saturday. Drop that in the comments section. Let me know what your score prediction is. And how about this? For those of you that stuck around this far, get in the comment section and tell Scotty B what song he should break dance to next after a great Baylor win. Because I'm thinking he's going to do it Saturday night after the Bears beat Houston. What song should it be set to? Drop that in the comments below. My man Scotty B will almost certainly do it. Drop that down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. It's really helping out the channel. I'm so thankful that you guys got us to 3,000 subscribers. Let's get it to 4,000. There are certain internet companies in town that are right around 4,000, and I think we're doing good work here, maybe even better work. So let's get to 4,000 subscribers and ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're going live and every time we drop a video on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you after the game against Houston, the Bears, hopefully 5th straight win. We will be live on YouTube, as always, the #1 destination for Baylor football postgame. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. We will see you then on Locked On Baylor.